we've managed to kidnap 6 members of the public who've all been watching Theresa May's speech, and we're going to have a quick natter. They're from various different bits of the British political scene, and they've voted for different parties. I'm going to ask them what they thought of Theresa May's speech. Your verdict?
I thought it was an excellent speech. She set out her agenda very clearly. She's got a clear vision of the country going forward and the importance of unity and empowerment to the public.
Who did you vote for at the last election?
I voted for the Conservative Party.
So you would say that, wouldn't you?
Possibly. You might say that. I can possibly comment.
But did she? But how exciting, how orgasmic was she for you?
She was more exciting than I anticipated, I have to be honest. She's
less boring.
I never think Mrs May is boring, but she was more dynamic this time. She had a more levity to her than previous conference speeches, and I really felt I got to know her better as an individual and what her true beliefs are.
Jeevan, your Labour.
I am. I thought Theresa May's speech was well delivered, and I thought it definitely felt like an ambitious land grab for Labour voters and disaffected UKIP voters. And also a critique, I think, on the economic liberalism of the past. However, it did seem to me there was the classic red meat thrown to traditional Tory voters too, on grammar schools, human rights, and a bizarre pledge on foreign doctors as well, which I just don't think will resonate necessarily with everyone. Good speech, but I think we really need to wait and see, will it actually get delivered?
You're a floater, Jackie.
Yes.
No, you're a floating boater. Idiot
Okay.
Sweeney. How did it grab you?
I think she came across as a really strong leader, and I think the country's lacking with that recently. I like the idea that she was talking about more economic growth and about change management and how we're going to change the country and how we all need to pull together to go forward post-Brexit.
She's not uber posh. Did you like that?
I did.
Compared to David Cameron?
Yeah, I think David Cameron was a typical plummy Eton boy, and I think Theresa May comes across as more in touch with the people. And I think she'll get a lot more followers because of that. So, yeah, I thought she came across really well.
You voted Labour in the past.
I have, yeah.
Would you be tempted to vote for Theresa this time round? Next time
Yes,
round?
if she can deliver all what she's stated on her agenda and things go forward, and the business community especially I was very interested in, because as I say in Birmingham we have a very buoyant community here in our business sector, and I think HS2 will be very valuable for us. So I think there's some exciting times ahead.
Now, you voted Liberal at the last election.
I did.
What, Lib Dem,
Not
whatever.
ashamed to say.
So, excuse me, did Theresa May float your boat?
I don't know about floating my boat, but she definitely convinced me that she is the right person to take us through Brexit. So, I get a sense that those are her priorities, and I think rightly so. So from that perspective, I'm pleased. I'm definitely waiting to hear more about what she's going to do for young entrepreneurs, for startups, going through the change. But yeah, for now, it's all good.
And she came across as a human being to you?
I think so. I mean, I haven't seen that much of her, kind of in the media over the last couple of months. But she came across reasonably well. I know there's been a lot of talk around softening her up and, whether she comes across as a bit too stiff, but I thought she came across fine.
Was there a soppy bit, though?
Very soppy. The Brownlee story for me just didn't do it. I thought there was maybe just too much of the speech writers in there trying to kind of overdo it, and it was just a bit kind of theatrical for me. Yeah.
You voted UKIP at the last election. Has she stolen UKIP's clothes?
They've stolen UKIP's policies, I would have to say that, mainly on the grammar schools and putting in ex-armed forces into the prisons. But she presents very well, comes across very well. Yet I would like to see more of what she does on Brexit, and I would have to say that I want like a free trade agreement myself and get out the single market, because inside the single market you have to take EU laws, and I'm not a big fan on the way she's talking about HS2, because the only people that are really going to pay for it are the general public, which are the people that she's trying to get the votes across from.
David, how was it for you?
I was intrigued as to how she'd come over, and I felt she came over as posh classes. I felt that she also came over with her values, and I think she was more herself in that. And I think she is the right person to take us out of Brexit, out of Europe.
So, just to be a bit critical, for example, the Russian army is accused of doing terrible things on the, where it goes in places like, for example, Chechnya. And part of that is because of the pressure, and the same allegations are less made against the British Army because of the human rights lawyers who say if the British Army misbehaves, then they're in trouble and everybody knows that. So was she throwing, you can see why soldiers don't like lawyers following them in their wake, but also there is another reason for that. Do you think too much red meat?
I don't think, well, she had to give some red meat to her conservative diehards, and I think, therefore, that was actually happening. To me, what was interesting was the fact that she was trying to be more socially inclusive, to pick up something of the Chamberlain ethos that certainly has been part of Birmingham.
Which, Donald Trump once called me thick. Which Chamberlain are you talking about? Neville, who was friendly with Hitler, or another one?
Joseph Chamberlain. He's the one who when he took power here, he actually introduced the demolishing of the slums, introducing water, changing the infrastructure, looked at housing for people, because he considered that...
Which century are you talking about?
This is 19th century.
But he was good at that.
Yes.
So, very quickly, because we don't have forever, Theresa May versus Jeremy Corbyn, starting with a Labour guy.
At the moment, I think Theresa May has to prove herself. I'd be backing Jeremy Corbyn at present. I've yet to see.
Jezza or Theresa?
Theresa.
Why?
I think that she came across very sincere. I think that she's got a lot of items on her agenda. She's got a lot to get through. And I think she'll be congruent to her values. And I think she'll be great for going forward.
As a Conservative, here's the trial. Give me some positives for Jeremy Corbyn.
I'd be scratching my head around a little bit. All I can say is he's got a reasonable mandate, but he's got a pretty divided party behind him.
How's it looking for you politically as a Conservative with the setup as it is, Theresa May versus Jeremy Corbyn? How happy are you?
I'm very content with Theresa May as our leader. I think she's undoubtedly going to return a majority Conservative government at the next election if the situation stays as it does. I think there's a shame for democracy that we don't have a credible opposition to hold our government to account.
You agree with that?
I agree with that. Definitely Theresa May over Jeremy Corbyn. I think it's a question of, Theresa just comes across as being way more competent and capable to take us through what is a very difficult kind of 6 to 12 months coming up. So, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm much happier being in Theresa's hands rather than Jezza's.
I'm going to abstain.
So, remind me, Mr. UKIP, who is your party leader again?
Please, as I said before, it's like, if Diane James wants to talk about her problems, about leaving as our leader, it's up to her to come out and talk about them.
But Theresa May versus Jeremy Corbyn?
I'm abstaining.
Jeremy Corbyn has actually highlighted some of the issues which are facing ordinary people, and that is good. But what I don't like with him or his approach is the divisiveness. It's them and us. What I liked about Theresa May was the fact that she's attempting to gain that middle ground and to say she is really concerned about everybody, regardless of who they are, and that for too long the Conservative Party has favoured the rich and the powerful. If she produces what she says that she's going to produce, then I think it's really good because she is inclusive and isn't saying there's a them and us.
Right, we're going to do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down in Brum. Brum is for or against Theresa May. Thumbs up, thumbs down now. And if you want to see more of this fun, we're on Newsnight at 10:30 tonight. Cheers.